So naturally we would import right-hand drive vehicles in which their steering wheels are located on the right side of the vehicle, right? However, I am driving a left-hand drive vehicle, so which means that wherever this car came from, whichever country it came from, they drive on the right side of the road, right? Ideally, they say you should have the driver on the oncoming side, basically. You know what I mean? So, with that said, I am driving a left-hand drive vehicle in Jamaica. So a lot of people in Jamaica are afraid of buying left-hand drive because they're saying that, oh, it has a lower resale value, this and that, blah blah blah. When you're driving, it's hard to see around vehicles, all of that. Some of those things are true, some of it aren't, some of it is not. You have to be the driver. You're the person driving. Since I've had this car, I've never had issues overtaking anybody. This is a 2-liter turbo. 1, it's quick, right? 2, I don't drive close to people's bumpers, right? So I'm always at least a car length away. So I have the speed to compensate if I want to see around somebody to go around them. You know what I mean? 3, if you're even driving a right-hand drive vehicle, it's not good to be driving on people's bumper, tailgating and all those things, right? Even when you're in a right-hand drive vehicle, you can't see around the person. If you're driving an SUV, it might be different than the person in front of you has a car, but if you're tailgating, it might present difficulties for you to, 1, overtake, 2, to see around that vehicle in front of you, and 3, it's dangerous because if that person in front of you has some form of emergency or difficulty and they have to actually press the brakes in an emergency setting, right? You are too close to react. By the time you realize that something has gone wrong with the person in front of you, it might be too late, right? So that's one of my biggest things. Resale value, it might be less, it will be less compared to a right-hand drive based on the region. Because in America, these cars, a left-hand drive, 2 of the same cars compared left-hand drive and right-hand drive from their respective region are very expensive, right? And we, for one, in Jamaica, we ship used cars and drive them, so we get them at a lower price because they're used. You know what I mean? So it depends on the car. However, left-hand drive vehicles tend to carry a lower resale compared to a right-hand drive vehicle in Jamaica, right? For various reasons and obvious reasons at that. But it depends on the vehicle. Some cars they value faster than some, right? A Honda holds its value better in left-hand drive in Jamaica, way better than a Toyota in Jamaica. You know what I mean? Most left-hand drive cars in Jamaica are BMWs, Mercedes-Benz, and Hondas, right? I would say Hondas is at the top of the list in terms of population, right? In left-hand drive cars, Hondas, then BMWs, then Mercedes-Benz, in that order. You know what I mean? Very few left-hand drive Toyotas in the country, because this country is very biased to Toyotas and Hondas secondly. So they biased to Toyotas firstly, biased to Hondas secondly. I guess the newer generation now, the older generation prefer Toyota, but the younger generation now prefers Hondas. They still have a few that love their Toyotas and stuff, but a lot of them still prefer Honda. You get me? Myths about left-hand drive. What other myths do you guys have? Let me see the other ones. I think the biggest concern is overtaking, but that's a trick. Most of the left-hand drive cars that come into this country are very quick. So what you need to do is not put yourself in a compromising position where you can't see around them. But right now, this distance for me between me and this vehicle is more than enough for me to see what's going on, right? And an advantage of left-hand drive cars, right, especially for beginners. Let me not confuse the situation, but But for me, I can see around some corners that a right-hand drive vehicle cannot see. So like, especially this corner now that is turning to the right, I can see around it. I can see a further distance compared to the person in front of me, which is driving a right-hand drive. I'm sure of it because I've had a right-hand drive car. This is my first left-hand drive car, right? The left-hand drive didn't give me any issues. What gave me an issue is that this car is hella huge. It's wide, it's long, right? So I had to adjust to the size of the vehicle. It being a left-hand drive actually made getting used to this car a lot easier, because when I'm on the left-hand side, I just keep closer to my side. You know what I mean? In any situation, I can go as close as possible to my side without having to worry about if I'm going to rub my rims, if I'm going to brush the fender, the bumper and anything and stuff like that. You get me? So that's another advantage. And I would say for a beginner who's going to buy their first car, I don't think you should be afraid of buying a left-hand drive car as a first car. I just think it depends on the brand, right? You can buy a Toyota or a Honda, but Honda I think sell better in left-hand drive in Jamaica. You get me? The thing is though, as a beginner, if you're going to buy your first car and it's going to be a left-hand drive, I think it's going to be a bit easier for you to learn, right? When you see the opportunity to drive a right-hand drive vehicle as well, you should do it. You know what I mean? Because you need to be versatile as a driver. Not only that, you should be able to drive a stick car. I think everybody should be able to drive a stick car. I think that driving a stick gives you that sixth sense about driving, right? I think you're a better driver when you can handle a stick vehicle. You get me? But separate and apart from that, when a beginner buying their first car, if it's a left-hand drive, it's not. I would never tell you not to buy a left-hand drive car as your first car, because this is the cold hard truth is, when you're driving as a beginner, you're going to have difficulty staying in your lane for somebody who's just going to drive. Whether they learn to drive for a few weeks or whatever and they manage to get a license somehow, right, from passing a test or whatever. When you're in a situation when you're actually driving on your own, you will realize how difficult it is to keep your car in a straight line within the lane, especially when you're not used to the vehicle. You know what I mean? So you having a left-hand drive vehicle, you can keep as close as possible to your side. You get me? And that's a big advantage. You don't have to worry about, when you're in doubt, you know you don't have to worry about you going into oncoming traffic. I'm cruising, I'm gonna turn off the get fast mode. The road is very bad right here. Yeah, so you don't have to worry about being on the oncoming side of the traffic and stuff. You just keep to your side, the left hand side. So just go as close as possible to the left side when you're in doubt. So when you're going through narrow spaces, you can maximize on your side without fear or favor. And then over time you realize that you're getting the judgment of the car in terms of the width, the length, you know what I mean? And the danger points on the vehicle, where you know that if you're going into a little situation, it's difficult to judge that side or whatever. The opposite side tends to be more difficult to judge than your side for obvious reasons. So I wouldn't tell anybody that don't get a left-hand drive. If you can afford a left-hand drive vehicle, which would be cheaper than a right-hand drive vehicle, I would say, hey, buy it. You know what I mean? Once you like it and it's in excellent condition, buy it. You know what I mean? Buy it. But as mentioned before, they don't carry the resale value as good as a right-hand drive vehicle. So what I recommend to people when they're buying a left-hand drive vehicle, alright, let's say we're in 2020 now. So if you buy a 2020, let's say buy a 2020, 2019 or 2018 Honda, just keep it for a year or two, right? Don't keep it longer than that. Don't keep it so long that the shape changes, right? Just spin it. Just get rid of it. I'm not saying it's giving you issues or anything, but don't let it devalue too much on you. And it's not just for left-hand drive vehicles alone, right-hand drive cars as well. Right? Leaves room for the other person to feel comfortable with the device. sell the car after a year or two. A lot of people get trapped in that cycle of keeping a car because they love it. I love this car, but I'm actually planning to sell this car very soon. And I really like this car. You know what I mean? But a lot of people get trapped in that cycle of saying, boy, I love this car, this and that, I don't want to sell it, I don't know if I can get anything else like it, and blah blah blah. Man, from there is life. You can do anything you want to accomplish. If you sell a Honda, you want a Benz, you can do it. You know what I mean? Just work hard at it and do it. Never limit yourself. And then what people do when they say that, they don't want to sell it because of whatever, the car ends up devaluing so low, so that money you invested initially, whether you took it through a loan or a lease or whatever, or you bought it cash. Worse if you bought it cash, you kept it for like 10 years, 5 years. So you bought the car for 5 million, in 5 years you only can get 2 or 1 point something for it. Right? And you're only using it for leisure. It's not unless you're running taxi or something like that, but it's not, you're not using it to make money. You know what I mean? So you bought it for 5 million, next year you sell it for 4.5. The other person buys it for 4.5. The other year he sells it for 4, and so on. So nobody will lose greatly off of it, because if after a year you lose like 500,000, you basically drove out that money. You get me? And you never know, you might get exactly what you paid for it. You know what I mean? But that's just my take on it though. I don't think you should keep a car for too long. You know what I mean? For it to devalue too much on you. Because then you'll be in a situation where you want to sell it for more and nobody wants to buy it because it's too expensive. You know what I mean? And then you will eventually realize that, and then you sell it for way less than what you were expecting, and then now you're saying now you can't afford to buy anything else. You put yourself in that situation. You know what I mean? But it's understandable. I wouldn't tell anybody that they shouldn't keep a car. It's your choice. But for me, that's just my observation and research that I did. I don't think it's wise. You know what I mean? It's not wise. But to each their own though. Everybody's situation is different. A lot of people is not fussy to say, alright, change my car because of this and that. It's not giving you any problem, so why change it? A lot of people have that mentality. Which is true, it's a good analogy when you think about it. Next thing you sell it, you buy something, it starts to give you issues. You know what I mean? Now we're at Fern Gully. Inside here is very dark. I don't know if you realize that. The ferns kind of cast out the light. So evening day, brighter day, because now it's 6:13 p.m. So it's like down in the evening hours, it's kind of getting dark, but it wasn't this dark a while ago. You know what I mean? But this place kind of shadows everything. Even in broad daylight, it shadows out the light. Well, let me know what you think about this car. You can also let me know if you would definitely buy one. I have the links, I can hook you up on one. Heck, if you want this one, money talks. You get me? Just let me know what you think. Like, share and subscribe. More content coming soon. More cars to feature. And I can't wait. When I sell this car, I think you guys will like the next project. It's a secret. But let's see what happens though. It might not work out. It might work out. Who knows? But whatever project is coming, it's going to be epic. Oh, another thing. Guys, this car burns gas excellent. Since I filled the tank in Spanish Town and I drove, I'm currently at 66.5 kilometers. The tank is still full. The tank is still full, it hasn't moved. And I went through a lot of traffic in Spanish Town because I didn't take the toll. It's still full. And I'm in Ocho Rios now. Just finished Fern Gully. doing a PRL downpipe, removing the resonator, putting on some exhaust on it, and also K-tuner, probably do an intake. But now the PRL downpipe would free up the system a bit more, so it could get some more juice out of it, and upgrade the tires. I think these tires, this car burns rubber too easily, man. I will get some stickier tires.